the market is back 0.18%. Gainers, Julie, Transcorp, International Grains, Air Transact. Gainings, losers, we have DCAP, Taurus, CWG, Caverton Aviation, and Omatic. Let's take you further. Gold prices and benchmarks in Tokyo and Taipei followed the S&P 500 record highs today after the U.S. Federal Reserve indicated it would stick with its plans to cut interest rates. EuroSTOXX 50 futures rose 1.2%, FTSE futures rose 0.9%, and central bank meetings in Switzerland, Norway, Britain, and Turkey are scheduled later in the session. The Nikkei and Taiwan weighted index each climbed 2% to record levels. MSCI's broadest index of Asia Pacific shares outside of Japan jumped 1.6%. U.S. Treasury rallied before steadying in Asia, with 2 years yield at 4.60% and 10 years yield at 4.27%. Fed members' long-run rate projections ticked higher to 2.6% from 2.5% when 7 policymakers projecting long-run rates over 3%, up from the 4 in December. Rwanda and African Export-Import Bank, that's FTSE Bank, has unveiled its Fund for Export Development in Africa, FEDA, the office in Kigali, Rwanda, to promote export development and manufacturing across the continent. FEDA, the Development Impact Investment Platform of FTSE Bank, is mandated to implement the bank's equity investments across Africa by providing developmental equities and quasi-equities capital to companies involved in intra-African trade and export development, manufacturing on the continent. FTSE Bank Funds of Export Development in Africa is established to tackle a $110 billion financing gap for intra-African trade, valued added export development and industrialization value chains. The bank, in a statement by the Manager Communications and Events, Mr. Vincent Sumba, said Rwanda is the first among 115 African nations to ratify its establishment agreement, while stating that the establishment of Fund for Export Development in Africa and Rwanda reflects the bank's commitment not only to fostering economic development with Africa's borders, but also plays a pivotal role in the economic transformation of the continent. President Joe Biden awarded Intel nearly $20 billion in grants and loans, marking the U.S. government's largest outlay to subsidize leading-edge chip production and supercharging the company's domestic semiconductor chip output. During his remarks, President Biden said his administration would be investing $8.5 billion combined with $100 billion investment from Intel to build new semiconductor fabrication facilities and modernize existing ones in Arizona, Ohio, New Mexico, and Oregon.
Pat is building here on another field of dreams. I'm thrilled to announce the latest public-private partnership and one of the largest investments in semiconductors in the United States ever. A new landmark agreement under the CHIPS and Science Act between my administration and Intel for up to $8.5 billion. It's a smart investment. And that's being paired with over $100 billion from Intel, including $30 billion in Arizona and $30 billion in Ohio. It's among the largest private sector investments ever in the history of Ohio and Arizona. And this historic funding will be used to build new semiconductor fab facilities and modernize and expand existing ones in Arizona, Ohio, New Mexico, and Oregon. Combined, it will create nearly 20,000 construction jobs, many of which will be union jobs.
President Joe Biden there. The European Automobile Manufacturers Association says new car sales in the European Union surged 10.1% year-on-year in February, with the bloc's main market also recording solid growth. The association in a statement says registration rose by 13% in France, 12.8% in Italy, 9.9% in Spain, 5.4% in Germany, consolidating similar trends seen in January. The data shows that 4 countries were also main contributors to a 24.7% yearly jump in hybrid electric vehicle sales in the EU, with the market share of hybrid electric vehicles in the bloc increasing to 28.9% from 25.5% a year ago. Hybrid vehicles, seen as a compromise between all combustion and all electric cars, are emerging as the preferred alternative to battery electric vehicles for consumers in Europe, the US, and China. Crude oil prices rebounded today as the United States crude and gas stocks drawdowns lend support despite signs that the U.S. Federal Reserve may keep interest rates higher for longer. U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude fell to sell at $81.12 with a downward price margin of 0.18%. Brent crude futures recorded a price decline of 0.10% to sell at $85.86 per barrel. BoE Light dropped to sell at $88 per barrel with a downward price margin of 1.59%. And for the OPEC basket, crude dealers are offering $86.52 with an upward price margin 0.0%. That's our show today. Thank you so much for being a part of it. I'll see you tomorrow, same time. Stay safe, get busy, make some cash.